Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we've followed on a little bit from last week's ball testing where we tested Pro V1 versus Pro V1X, and interesting result for us was we really never saw much of a difference. We were exploring the sort of maybe of a bit of a misconception that the ball so that's switched places, and Pro V1X was now the higher launch and higher spin ball, and Pro V1 was a little bit lower launch and slightly lower spin ball. We never really found that to be the case.
No.
We found that they were very similar in spin, a little bit of a difference in launch, but there wasn't really that much of a difference, and I think towards the wedges we actually saw the Pro V1X spin marginally less.
It did. So they've definitely closed the gap, but Pro V1 still definitely spun a little bit more in the shorter clubs.
Which is what we saw, which is kind of where you actually will start to see the golf ball change its characteristics more is around the sort of shorter irons into wedges. I think the golf ball, the engineers are just trying to get the ball to do the same thing off the driver. Launch fairly high, spin fairly low, and as fast as we possibly can get it for that specific.
Because no one doesn't want that for the most part.
That's what optimal launch conditions are. So today what we've managed to do is get our hands on some Titleist AVX golf balls. I know there's been some testing being done out there. You know, we always like to kind of, you know, do our own testing and obviously see what we see, and you know, today we're going to run that through. We found that Pro V1X was slightly better for you last time, didn't we?
In terms of my numbers, it was really good. Yeah, I got some great results.
So we're going to pick that ball today to test with, and also being that it is the closest ball to, I guess, what we think the AVX will do in terms of being a little lower spin.
Categories wise, like we know the Pro V1 spins a bit more than X anyway, or is so similar that we might as well use the X as the baseline. Yeah,
exactly. The interesting thing will be to see, though, the AVX is designed to launch quite low, whereas Pro V1X is designed to launch quite high.
Launch low?
Yeah.
Why would they do that?
Just for the type of player who just kind of hits that, you know, hits that moon ball. You know, when we talk about apex of flight and trying to get, you know, the sort of the peak height to be at a certain range, you know, quite nice if the ball can help us out a little bit towards bringing that apex down a little bit for the guys who maybe play in the wind and kind of don't like that high peak, that type of thing. So this is going to be a really interesting test. Lots of positive sort of buzz about AVX so far.
Tons.
You know, soft sort of core, so lower compression, but a sort of design, a cover design that's designed to launch lower, spin less.
Right. Gotcha.
So we're going to test it with a driver, 6 iron, 58-degree wedge full, and 58-degree wedge partial.
Exactly.
So
we're adding that from the last test based on feedback.
That was something that one of the viewers kind of, you know, asked us to do, and we thought that was a really valid thing to add is on partial wedge shots. So we want to see how those less than full swings, what type of characteristics we get on those.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Guys, welcome back. Interesting test, Matt. Really, really interesting test. I think that's by far the most significant ball test we've done to date.
In terms of difference between the flights, yeah, I've never seen two balls
so different.
They're both premium balls. It's not like this isn't a two-piece range ball.
Yes,
the AVX.
exactly.
I've never seen a difference like that in ball flight.
Premium materials and obviously just a different design characteristic designed to produce a different flight, and my God, it produces a different flight.
Yeah, does it ever.
Really, really interesting. So let's just start over with the driver. I got to give an honourable mention to the return of Matt's speed.
Yes, it's back.
It's nice.
It's back
with a vengeance. I think you guys got fired up last week with some of the...
Lovely. The concern was very nice to have.
Really good to see Matt was swinging. To be honest, that's the best I've ever seen you swinging at it. By far, your swing chains are really starting to settle down, which is good. Which is by far why your speed is back up into the 170 ball speed mark. So really cool. So AVX, as we mentioned in the intro, designed to launch lower, spin less. Absolutely fit the bill.
Exactly what it did.
So the interesting thing for me, Matt, was the Pro V1X, you actually drew the Pro V1X slightly more.
Right.
So a ball that draws more we would normally say launch lower and spin less because it's got a little bit more curve to it. So I'm really surprised that even though the AVX was the straighter golf ball, it was still about 0.8 of almost a full degree lower launch and 200, almost exactly 200 RPMs less.
So you're saying if we straightened that Pro V1 exactly the same as the AVX, it should actually spin a bit more than we've shown and a bit higher launch angle.
You would expect that to be
the case. So pretty good difference between the two.
Yeah, decent enough. So the additional launch and spin and speed, we'll touch on that in a second, has given us about 8 yards more carry on the Pro V1X. So if we see the blue flight slightly higher, that's a slightly nicer, more balanced trajectory. The AVX was a little too flat.
For me, for me.
We tended to see it kind of just almost fall out the sky a little bit for you, Matt, which is really interesting. We know the amount of driver testing we've done together, we know we're kind of almost battling to get a little more spin. So that was really good to see. So let's touch on the ball speed.
Yeah. This was one that you brought up during the swings, and I thought was really interesting.
Yeah. So we're trying to kind of use the compression and match that to what a player does.
Right.
At absolute, max compression, we don't want too much. There is a point where compression becomes too much compression.
You don't want the ball to compress too much.
Exactly. So you'll actually start to lose a little bit of energy if you compress it too much. So, I think that's what we're seeing from the firmer Pro V1X. You're actually getting the ball to rebound a little quicker off the face by nature of that core being a little bit firmer.
And a mile slower on the swing speed, which makes that even more interesting because I actually swung a mile slower and got 2.5 miles an hour more ball speed, so better output.
That's exactly it. So the efficiency of the Pro V1X was higher for you than with the AVX. So that was really interesting for me. So in all three categories in which I would sort of try to isolate in order to improve performance, ball speed, more is better. Launch angle, well, we're just for you, somewhere around 11, 12 degrees is great. And spin rate, towards 2,000 is good. Maybe a shade over 2,000 would be optimal. Yep. But we're really close. So in all categories, for me, that Pro V1X wins for you.
Great ball for me. Really now, if you had someone come in with like too much launch and spin, this is an unbelievable option now, to be able to do that with someone's driver.
I'll carry a sleeve of these in our drawer just for that guy who comes in and you're kind of, you're edging them towards improvement, and this might be the icing on the cake. Let's add that new head with forward CG, the right shaft to create the right amount of energy and obviously improve the feel and the delivery. And let's potentially add in the golf ball that rounds all that stuff together and really make it a great package.
It's pretty amazing.
Really is. So that was interesting enough. It gets more interesting.
Yeah, moving to the 6-iron.
Yeah. Over here we see the exact same improvement in ball speed.
Yep.
So we're 2 miles an hour more. We are exactly the same launch, which was interesting for me. But this is where it got cool. I mean, what we got there? Yeah. 1150 more spin. Really interesting. That's a lot of difference.
Yeah. That's the difference between, I mean, again, we're going to first talk about how this fits me, but for the guy that spins an iron way too much, what else could drop 1,000 off someone's spin rate with like 4 degrees of loft? Like, that's crazy. I mean,
you know, that's exactly it. So if you're someone who's just needs to hit it a bit further, you know, going towards a lower spin rate will help you. You know, that's you're not trying to hit it in with precision. Sure, that's going to help you. For the guy who's obviously trying to hit it with more precision, i.e. you, you know, those launch conditions are fantastic. We'll see if we look over here at the angle of descent. Pro V1X was coming in at 47 degrees. AVX was coming in at 44.8 degrees. Big difference in angle of descent.
Yeah.
So,
and that's all spin, because we saw the launch was more or less the same.
Yep, little velocity improvement with Pro V1X, but really, I mean, that spin rate, I can't emphasize that enough.
That's amazing.
That's massive.
Yeah, that's great. I've never seen, nothing we've ever tested with me on a 6-iron has ever been that different.
And the you know, viewers who have been with us from the start when we've been testing golf balls and clubs, and we've never been able to separate, you know, spin in this way.
We tested a huge cavity back in a blade. They weren't even hardly any different in spin with the same loft, and this is 1,000 different just with a ball.
It's pure, and it's purely, like we're calling it, spin separation, because when you can keep the launch the same and get it to change that much, that's massive. So guys, when you know, if you're out there and you feel like, you know, you struggle on those windy days and the ball gets a little pitchy and peaky, try the AVX. That's going to be an unbelievable wind ball for some guys.
Like for me, if I go play in Scotland, for example, I should play an AVX.
For sure.
Because I could play in the wind just so much easier.
Just flight your ball in a nice little flight window.
That's awesome.
Let's look at the apex. Actually, that's something I actually never caught the number of. So 109 feet with the apex on the Pro V1, 101. So there's 8 feet of difference.
Decent difference
in height. Very, very interesting.
I mean, it's interesting to see that, because maybe visually, obviously 10 feet of height is, you'll notice it, but it's the backspin, that the look of the flight would just be so different with that lack of spin. It wouldn't be rising as much, it would kind of just be knuckling through the air.
Exactly. So the differences continue. As we go towards the wedges, this is where we saw the biggest separation.
Huge.
So if we go to the Pro V1X, Matt was spinning that at 11,944.
As it should.
As you have been, you know, last time I think you were averaging around the same numbers, 11,500, somewhere about there. Yeah. AVX with the standard wedge shot was only spinning, it was actually spinning less than 9,000, 8,970.
Yeah. That's a full rip with a 58 with really fresh grooves.
Yep.
Only 9,000.
3,000 RPMs different.
That's wild.
That is, I mean, you can't emphasize to someone how different that is.
Yeah. So this is the part of the bag to me where I guess the benefit of that stops. I mean, there's really no players that would want to spin their wedges less, do you think? It's rare that someone would say, I want 3,000 less on my lob wedge, because you want as much spin as you can.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that would be a rare thing, Matt. I would agree with that somebody would try and spin it that much less.
But I mean, in order to get that achievement in the 6-iron and the driver, it only makes sense that the wedge has the biggest difference. We saw that with X and Pro V1.
And I think if you find that all the other things we've talked about with AVX, you prefer the softer feel, you could do with a little less spin, and this is more for awareness that when you hit it into the greens, expect it to roll out a little bit more. It will do. It won't
exactly
quite
what
grab,
we saw with the ball flights.
Yeah, it won't quite grab as much. So you'll get a little bit higher launch with it on the wedges. Now we didn't see much difference in launch with the 6-iron, but we are seeing a big difference on the wedges. So launch angle was about almost just over 3 degrees of difference in launch angle. 3 degrees and 3,000 RPMs of spin.
Yeah. Very different flight.
Completely different flight. You know, you really notice that a lot out there. There's interesting results. You were actually backing up the Pro V1X, you would back up 2 yards, and the AVX was more of a drop and stop.
Just kind of sit. Very interesting.
Very cool. Right, let's look at the partial shots. So we were trying to get the ball to be about 50 yards was our target. So we averaged 52 and 54 with the AVX. AVX spun at 6,700, Pro V1 at 7,700. 1,000 RPMs the difference. Launch angle is 28.7 versus 30.9.
Yeah. So again, a pretty big difference on a partial shot. Yeah, a couple degrees and 1,000 RPMs. It's pretty significant. This is by far the most dramatic test that I've seen in 2 golf balls, changing those over. I've not seen anyone else's testing reflect this nearly as much. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure if your speeds are being higher shows a bigger separation. People do ask that. Maybe that's what it is, and we have a lot of testing to be done with golf balls for players with all different speeds. Yeah. Matt found a massive difference between those 2 golf balls. I think it would be safe to say, maybe look at it more as a percentage of your. Say you're a person that spins it only at a certain number. We've kind of identified a percentage difference between the 2 things. Right. But if you swing really slow, obviously your spin will be a little closer together. But I can't imagine 2 golf balls being more dissimilar in flight that are both premium golf balls. Definitely, definitely. So the type of player, like we said, their ball flight's a little too high. Maybe they play on greens that are a little bit softer and they hold nicely anyway. AVX would be a great option. Very true. Other than that, you probably wouldn't give up your Pro V1X. No, probably wouldn't suit me. But honestly, a few years ago, I used to spin the ball just way too much with everything, and I tried different clubs that helped. But a player like that maybe I used to be a little more steep and spin the ball all the time, that's a great option. It's a great ball. I mean, you buy a dozen balls and your ball flight completely changes. Yeah. I really tip my hat to Titleist for producing this golf ball, because they've delivered a technology that it has genuine difference. Agreed. That's not that easy to do, and a lot of the time, people will call it marketing hype and all that sort of stuff, and trying to go towards a certain market group. This ball makes a difference. This will 100%. Absolutely lower your spin and lower your flight. Yeah. So if that's what you need, I suggest you go pick up a dozen, go test them. And see what you find. And I think feel-wise, you guys will find probably what I found. It feels quite nice. Feels, I don't think that you would, you can tell a subtle difference, but it's a nice soft golf ball. You wouldn't feel like you were playing a distance ball. Right. But you are playing a distance ball. It really is a nice low spin ball. So it feels a good, they did a good job on the soft feel. Without a doubt. Awesome. Okay. Guys, we hope this has kind of been informative and gives you some food for thought when you're choosing golf balls. And, ball testing is tough for us. We've done quite a lot of it recently. Yes. We hit so many shots when we do our ball testing, so we'll probably taper away from it for a little bit, and we've got a lot of other topics to touch on in the next little while. But once we do our outdoor testing, we'll probably reintroduce a little more turf ball outdoor testing, so bunker shots. We'll try and get the quad in the bunker. Cool. And, has anyone done that yet? I've not seen that. I'd like to see that. Yeah, that would be pretty cool. We were going to get outside and see on 10, 25, 50-foot putts. Is there a difference in ball speed output? What's the difference between one ball and another? Once we get outdoors, we're going to do that as well. So we've got quad with its new capability of reading and measuring putts. We're going to do that. So awesome. So much. Of so much scope we've got with doing these tests. Awesome, looking forward to it. Excellent. Guys, thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you soon.